Hello everyone, I am Charlie Tolhurst and welcome to a very special coronavirus COVID-19 update. And an update where I want to be sharing for you my opinions about what's happening right now. And I have to say, for everyone living in Britain right now, this is a very grim time for everyone. And I have to say, unfortunately, things are not looking great in our battle against COVID-19. And I want to quickly start with today's figures, which were sent through from the government today on the number of people who have tested positive for coronavirus for COVID-19 today. That figure is the third highest figure we've ever seen, 6,178 new cases. That's up 1,252 on Tuesday, and also for the same day, and also in the last 24 hours, of course, the same figure as Monday, 37 further deaths have been recorded. So the number of cases in the UK, well, that's now surpassed 400,000 with tests. But that figure is likely to be 10 times higher if you were to test more people. Of course, this, by the way, this increase in cases is down to significantly more testing that has been done. So please do not stress too much. But the actual figure today, 410,000 is the actual figure we've got on here. And the number of deaths is at 41,862 as well. So the death toll is grim. Now, the news that I think a lot of people will be interested today, and we saw lots of news actually from the government over the last days. If you've seen the Prime Minister's address yesterday, I have to say that Boris Johnson looked very grim, very sombre statement yesterday by the Prime Minister. On Tuesday, the 22nd of September, we had the address, and Boris Johnson threatened more measures. And it was a very grim speech. I'm really glad that the Prime Minister at least acted responsibly yesterday by debating this in Parliament first before the announcement, because parliamentary scrutiny was reported and we needed that to happen. However, I was still left a little bit confused with some of the new measures. The measures are a lot clearer though this time, but I still think one of the measures needs to be tightened. So, the new measures that the government have implemented are, and I'm going to tell you some of them now. There is now a 10 PM curfew on pubs, bars and restaurants. There is also going to be, the rule of 6 will now be extended to apply for that of football teams. Pilots for sporting events will not go ahead from October the 1st. We will not see fans back in stadiums, which will be a hammer blow to motor racing, especially the BTCC, who have some exciting lineup of race coming up at Silverstone and Brands Hatch as well. We're also going to see increase in fines for offences. The first fine is now up to £200. It could be as much as £10,000 for multiple offences. The fines will be doubled each time on that offence. There is also going to be more. Face covering rule will also be extended to include taxi drivers being in taxis. Also, all shopping's retail staff will have to wear them from Thursday as well. That is the new rule that's going to be implemented there. And as well as that, the government have also said for people to work from home wherever they can. I know that the work from home advice, fantastic that they've reinstated this, because I've had a lot of people complaining about their workplaces not being COVID secure, because I go to my college right now. I'm really struggling to cope there at the moment. I'm really struggling. I'm feeling very anxious, very frightened to go in every day. I don't feel quite safe there. And that's something that I don't necessarily want to feel. Seeing that number of cases, I feel like they're just not being strict. I feel like I'm not feeling as safe as I need to feel safe. And working from home is very important. So if you can work from home in an office, please do. Limit the days you're at work. That's what we need to do. You need to do. And the biggest call here is that we do not want a second national lockdown. Labour, Sir Keir Starmer's already lobbied for the government not to reinstate this. There could be a circuit break, but I don't want... The government cannot afford a second national lockdown. We've seen how the economy shrunk by 29%. It's going to be even greater. The Prime Minister said yesterday he doesn't want it. And I don't want a second national lockdown here in the UK. We have to learn to live with this virus. We have to learn to live with COVID-19, with the coronavirus, for many years to come. And certainly for many more months to come as well. This virus is never going to go away. So we need to practice social distancing. We need to limit contact as much as we possibly can. And what I've been seeing from government at the moment, over the leadership, this government acts on following more than followership, not leadership. To see what Matt Hancock does with announcing the new measures, and to see what Matt Hancock announces as well, he sort of... Does everyone want to listen to the Health Secretary? Because he seems like he's playing into this too much. There's a huge disagreement in Boris Johnston's cabinet over the measures as well. And I just think that it's crazy that, I mean, this is a big issue here, because Matt Hancock's straight overreacting to this stuff. Yes, you've got to be cautious, but the Health Secretary is getting a little bit out of control now, and he's done a lot. He's one of the weakest members of Boris Johnson's cabinet. But, I mean, we have had MPs completely flustered in government. The government have made mistakes during this crisis. And I have to say, the measures that they implemented last night were good, but they were done, in my opinion, too late. They should have gone further. Nicola Sturgeon went even further than than Boris Johnson, than England yesterday. Scotland have announced a ban on mixing with households indoors, which is a huge measure. Wales are encouraging people to avoid non-essential travel where possible. So in other words, to avoid using public transport, only use it for essential services like for education, for going for education and for healthcare staff as well. So only essential services. So we are seeing a clamping down of these restrictions, and it's big here. And I have to say, the government need to be acting. They need to be protecting the economy and protecting our public health. And before I finish this update, I want to mention about the furlough scheme, because I know a lot of people have been asking me to mention about this. So next month, we have the end of the furlough scheme. Okay? And a lot of people have been questioning whether the furlough scheme should be extended. In my opinion, the government needs to extend the furlough scheme. Sector by sector approach. Many more thousands. If this scheme does not end, thousands more redundancies will be made. We'll see many thousands of people being laid off rather than being kept on payroll, filing for unemployment benefits, being removed off universal credit. We could see people officially going unemployed. And in other words, not having enough rent to pay the bills, having enough rent to pay for the food. Not even enough rent to own their own car. Imagine me buying a Mazda MX-5 and not having enough rent to pay for that. That would be horrible. And I mean, mentally, you're going to end up having to buy food from food banks. We're seeing that in the United States. We don't want to see it in the UK. We're a nation that is wealthy. We don't want to see our wealth, our capitalism and our wealth being ended. I mean, we're a huge wealthy nation. We're one of the wealthiest nations in the world. And I feel that with the furlough scheme not being extended to offer sector by sector support, thousands more businesses will crash. We've seen that already, like Boots laying off about 400 staff. We've also seen lots of redundancies being made at British Airways, the aviation industry being hit hard by that as well. We're seeing job cuts at John Lewis, House of Fraser as well, Pret-a-Manger as well. We've seen Pret-a-Manger, we've seen massive job cuts as well. This is an unprecedented time. This has never happened before. We've had we've had the biggest recession on record as well, let alone anything. This year's a historic year for us, and I want to be very clear that Rishi Sunak is one that I've praised throughout this crisis. So tomorrow during his budget tomorrow, he's got to announce some good things. And the support for the Chancellor needs to be up there. Boris Johnston at the moment is a little bit flabbergasted. And Sir Keir Starmer, clearly, Labour are showing very strong signs of improvement at the moment. Sir Keir Starmer criticising the Prime Minister for being incompetent. And he done a speech the other day that said the British people have asked everything of them, but the government has done it. And another issue we've had is that the government needs to fix testing fast, because that's the only way we can get control of this virus. And he also asked for a plan B to protect jobs and prevent a second lockdown. See, the testing and tracing system's got to be up. We have a contact tracing app launching tomorrow in the UK. We have to get this testing shambles sorted out. Otherwise, we risk a potential second wave and damage the NHS. We don't want them to be overwhelmed. And I'm saying to you guys right now, those anti-lockdown protesters who threaten to go out and hold massive demonstrations, you're putting your lives at risk. You need to respect social distancing. And as I've said, in America now, with the death toll mounting over a grim 200,000, we don't want to be there. We don't want to have anyone die from this disease. And unfortunately, many more families will lose loved ones before their time. But we have to be vigilant. We have to be strong. I understand that this is going to that everyone is upset. But we have to work together. This is a disease that does not discriminate anyone. We have to follow the guidance that the government has set us. And Boris Johnson, please do not send our country into a second national lockdown, because I know that for many thousands of people around the UK, this will impact them. It will impact their health and mental health, their well-being, and it will impact thousands of employers and employees' jobs around the UK. We have to act. It doesn't necessarily mean a full lockdown. We need to get kids back into school and have an education. But we need to do it safely. We need to keep people safe. So please follow the guidance that has been set. And I will now say that the UK government, Boris Johnson, Matt Hancock, they need to get a grip on this crisis. Turn this testing shambles around. Don't have a shortage of tests. Get more tests out, so that more people can be tested and get back to the things they love doing. Because right now, our testing regime is utter shambles, and we're right now risking thousands more lives if we do not sort this out and fix the test and trace system, because we need more contacts to self-isolate. And just before I go, I would like to say that if you're a fan of football, West Ham manager David Moyes has unfortunately tested positive for coronavirus. I wish him a very speedy recovery on that one. And he's the latest sports star to unfortunately test positive for COVID-19. Thank you so much for listening to this update. Take care. Goodbye.